What's the poorest you ever remember being?
That's a super interesting question. Most people get like the opposite question of that, like talking about all the great stuff. So the opposite is really interesting. I would say that the poorest I've ever felt, or the poorest I ever was, kind of would be when I first came to Perth, and that would be it was either June or July, I can't actually remember the month, of 2007. And so I drove across the Perth, and when I arrived, I had about $800 in the bank and no job. I did have a place to stay, but where I had to pay rent, but I didn't have a job. So at that point, I'm like, oh shit, because I just moved out of home. I had
How old? Are you 19 there?
18.
So you're 18, you've ended up on the other side of the country, 2 hours behind your family. You got $800 in your car, right? How much is the car worth?
5,000, if that. Not much.
Do you reckon at the time?
Maybe 4,000. No, I had no insurance at all.
Not comprehensively insured either. So yeah. Just relying on CTP and hoping nothing bad happens. Yeah, okay. So that was $800, and that was just money you'd saved up, basically.
That was what I saved up from a part-time job I had at Big W.
Again, we could go deeper in the future around, the psychology of what it's like to buy a whole chicken when you got $800, and I'm sure we can both talk to that kind of stuff. But there must be one memory that stands out to you where you really felt that 3-digit wealth. Is there any single example?
Almost straight away when I had to start buying food and stuff, I was like, oh, this ain't good. I need to start work immediately. I need money quickly. So almost immediately I started feeling pretty broke and pretty urgently needing to work. And so luckily I got a job within a week and started within 10 days. So that was quite fortunate. The other time I felt pretty broke was not long after I started work. It was probably within the first month actually, where I had worked for the whole month, and then I just seemed to have a whole bunch of bills at the same time. It was rego, and then it was had to pay rent, and then it was something else and something else. And then I worked for the whole month and I had no savings. It was this is bullshit. I hate this. I felt like I worked all that time, all that energy for nothing. I just gave up my life just to keep existing. And so that was probably the first trigger in my mind that I thought, I can't be in a situation where I'm like this, where I'm just treading water. That's just not, I don't know. That just felt like a completely unacceptable way to live. So I had to figure out how to not be in that situation.
Yeah, man. When a rump steak is 1% of your net worth gone, it's when you gotta see some changes, I guess.
More like 5%.
Yeah. So, okay, everyone can picture that. They kind of know who you are now. It makes sense that, you work, you buy an investment property, you work. You can kind of see how the story tells itself.